the Milwaukee Brewers. It was talked about on this show recently that we think they should go get a bat. Brewers fans were not a fan of that take. They think the bullpen is the only place they really need to touch. What's your take on that? What do you think the Brewers could use? They just moved into the best record in the major leagues. A lot of things are going right over there. So how are you feeling about that take?
Yeah, well, Trevor, first of all, Milwaukee won the trade deadline, right? They got two number one starters, right? Now, one came for the minor leagues and Jacob Misiorowski, and one came off the injured list and Brandon Woodruff. But now you put him with Peralta, they got three number ones. So not only are they the favorites to win the Central, they can run the table in October and win a World Series. They're in a great spot. And look, I agree with the fans that they need a relief pitcher. I'd go get an arm too. But, it is very clear, based on the teams Milwaukee has talked to, they would like to upgrade the left side of the infield with a bat, either at shortstop or third base. Regardless of what the fans think, what matters is what the front office thinks, right? It's what Matt Arnold thinks. It's what Pat Murphy thinks. And I think when you look at Joey Ortiz at shortstop, he's hitting .214 with 7 homers. That's just a fact. Caleb Durbin at third base. We all love him. I know the fans love him. He's hitting .261 with 5 homers. So that's what they've gotten on the left side of the infield. I think it makes sense that the Brewers are calling around to see if they can upgrade at one of the two positions to try to add a little bit more punch to the left side of the infield and lengthen the lineup a little bit. Look, they're going to have the pitching in October, as I said, to go all the way to the World Series. They are. But are they going to be able to hit with the Cubs if they face them? Will they hit with the Dodgers? Will they hit with the Mets and the Phillies? Will their offense be able to match up in those 2-1, 3-2 games to win those? I think if I'm running the Brewers, I would feel comfortable going to get, let's just say, Griffin Jacks from the Twins for my bullpen. And if I could be the team that beats out the Yankees and Mariners and Cubs to get Eugenio Suárez to put on that team, boy, I'd feel good about my chances. So, look, the fans may not think they need an upgrade on the left side of the infield. That's fine, and I respect fans, but let me tell you this. Your GM in Milwaukee is executive of the year, the reigning executive of the year. I think I would trust his opinion a little bit more than yours.
I'm with you. Matt Arnold knows what he's doing. And let's remember that the Brewers have had a lot of success, but not October success. They need more thump. I'm with you, JB. Yeah, we got a lot of comments yesterday like, no, we're not touching anything. Joey Ortiz, Durbin, etc. I'm like, really? You wouldn't take a Geno Suárez? You want to disrupt that 9? You're crazy. Right?
Yeah,
so
crazy.
It was important to bring that up. I want to stay in the division because you also came out with the article yesterday on 6 front offices on the hot seat, talking about some execs. And while we're in the NL Central, you have Carter Hawkins and Jed Hoyer on there as they don't have a contract after this year. And that's somewhat rare in our business. So what do you think about what the Cubs could do? And do you think they'll be more aggressive than they have in the past? Sometimes I felt like Theo Epstein with Jed Hoyer together were kind of yin-yang. Theo a little more aggressive, Jed a little more measured. Let's make sure we hang on to the right guys and not trade them away. But what do you think Jed will do now that there's a little bit of heat, not only from the contract, but also from the Brewers?
Yeah, first of all, I can't believe the ownership hasn't taken care of Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins and signed them long-term. They deserve it. They brought in Craig Counsell and they made the trade for Kyle Tucker, and they're sitting here with one of the best 6 teams in the National League with a real chance at a World Series. And so why they haven't been taken care of is beyond me. And I think it's a mistake. I think they should go to the podium and announce their long-term extensions myself. That being said, yeah, there's pressure under them to win now. I think they've seen what has happened in Milwaukee. That's going to be a fun race to the end. But I think if you want to beat them, you need pitching. You need another starter. I would argue you need another reliever. Of course, I would argue every contender needs another reliever. And they haven't gotten the production at third base that they want. So, I mean, their needs are very similar to the Yankees. Same kind of needs, right? A starting pitcher and a third baseman. So, I think they're going to be aggressive. One of the things that Jed Hoyer was talking about when he hired Counsell is he went back and kind of reflected on when they hired Joe Madden and won the World Series. And that was kind of the thinking when he went from David Ross to Craig Counsell. And last year it didn't really work. They knew they had to get a big trade and someone that could carry them. They got Tucker, and then PCA arrived this year and had his breakout year. And so, boom, here they are. But I do think that Jed, like he had the memory of hiring Madden and tried to copy that with Counsell, is going to try to do the same thing. And if you remember when Theo went big, right, and went and brought in Aroldis Chapman, and he wasn't afraid to trade a top prospect like Eloy Jimenez, I think that blueprint is exactly what Jed is planning, because I've heard from too many opposing GMs the mumbling of Owen Caissie, their young power hitting left fielder in the minor leagues. I just have heard his name over and over again. And I kept hearing, and it never happened, that Caissie was probably going to be traded to the Pirates for Mitch Keller, which made a lot of sense to me for both sides, right? The Cubs get that starting pitcher in the rotation. Pirates get much needed power bat to help try to build that offense there. Look, it still may happen. I don't know, but I've heard Cassie's name everywhere. That leads me to believe, because I know Jed doesn't want to trade him. He was part of the Yu Darvish deal. And I know that, he wants him to get to the big leagues and help him win, especially if they can't re-sign Tucker. But just because that name has been out there everywhere and I'm hearing it all over the industry, makes me believe he's ready to go all in at this deadline. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. It's going to be a fun deadline. I don't think we're going to get a lot of action until next week. I don't think we're going to see deals trickle in. I think it's going to take time, but I'll be surprised if the Cubs aren't active at the buzzer.
We talk about hitting. We talk about moves to be made, teams that could go all in. I want to know, when I look at guys like Seth Lugo, Zach Gallen, Sandy Alcantara, who's that one team, or who's the team that could make a move for one of those guys? And I know Sandy hasn't pitched like he wants to, like we know he can, nor has Zach, and Seth Lugo has been outstanding. But who's that team that could make a move for one of those guys? When you talk about a rotation like Milwaukee, you talk about the Cubs being right there. Who's that team that could take one of those guys and it really could propel them? Because, like I know, as much as we talk hitting, you need pitching to keep you in the game until the bats get going. So who's that guy for you?
Yeah, so let me, because you threw three names there, and I need to address all three. So with Sandy Alcantara, he just isn't back to being the guy he was when he won the Cy Young Award. And so the Marlins aren't going to be able to get the return that they need for the talent that he has. So I think they're going to be best holding him and hope that he pitches better in August and September, and then revisit this in the offseason when free agent pitchers cost $200 million, or you can trade for Alcantara. I think they're better off holding him. I do think they will listen on Edward Cabrera. They don't want to move him, but they will listen on Cabrera. And as long as the medicals are okay, he could end up being the best pitcher that's traded. So I think that's going to be interesting. Zach Gallen is kind of frustrating to look at. I think it really depends. Is there a pitching room out there that knows how to fix him for the buzzer? Does the group with the Mets or the Red Sox or the Yankees, do they look and say, hey, I know why he hasn't lived up to the expectations we have? Because I think that would be the most likely landing spot. To your point, I think the safest trades right now are for Mitch Keller, Seth Lugo, and Merrill Kelly. I think those are the three pitchers most likely traded, and I think they're the three that are the lowest risk of all of them out there. Now, who has enough to get them? I mean, the Cubs certainly are a team that has that. The Yankees, I think, have enough, and I know that's a priority for them. And don't sleep on the Blue Jays. I don't think their farm system is as good as the Cubs or Yankees, but they are all in right now, right? I think they smell this right now. They've got a little bit of a lead, but their schedule is not going to be as easy down the stretch in September as the Yankees is. So if they could end up adding another pitcher right now, it might be a huge difference maker for them. But those are the teams that I'm looking at the most to go grab a starter.
Kratz, what do? I'm in a bind and I need to make some food at home. I would like it to be home cooked, but I don't want to deal with any of the grocery crap.
HelloFresh, get it done. And they'll start to know when you're in a bind, and they'll figure it out for you, sending something new whenever you order it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. And there are dozens of menu items to choose from each week. They can also help you out if you need a little assistance. They can kind of cater to what your needs are or what your preferences are. They'll do a little Q&A session for you, and then you can be the star at home. Kratz is a superstar dad at home for his HelloFresh expertise. And if you want to get involved, then you can make sure that your summer is more enjoyable and delicious at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Get 10 free meals with a free item for life when you do that. HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. One per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
Speaking of teams who already have pitching, Seattle Mariners, Jerry Dipoto. They seem to be in this exact position every single trade deadline.
Right?
According to my numbers, they're only at 53.4% of wins this year, which is below quota. What does that mean for Jerry Dipoto, and what do you think is most likely for the Mariners to do at this break to maybe add a couple more wins and sneak into the playoffs?
Well, I mean, first of all, they got to hope that Arizona sells, and they got to hope they can convince them to be the team that gets Suárez or Josh Naylor, either one of them, I think either one of them is the difference maker for the Seattle Mariners. They got to get another bat for me. I also think they need another reliever as well, and I think Jerry Dipoto has a long history of being able to go get that under the radar bullpen arm, so I think he'll go get that. But you need another bat to lengthen that lineup to help out Cal Raleigh, to help out Julio Rodriguez. And so we'll see. You know, I think Jerry's under an extreme amount of pressure. I don't think his job necessarily is on the line, but the pressure in Seattle and from the fan base, they're tired of it. And, you know, this window to win with all this great pitching isn't going to last forever. They had scares this year with Kirby. They had scares with Bryce Miller. They had scares with Logan Gilbert. And it's a reminder how quickly pitchers can get injured. I mean, look at Arizona. The only reason we're talking about them maybe selling, which isn't a sure thing, is because Corbin Burns got hurt and Zach Gallen regressed. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about that. They'd be in the middle of this race. And so Seattle has to take advantage of this window. Now, Seattle has an owner that said to Jerry Dipoto he will provide the money that it takes to make the big move at this deadline. So they have the resources financially. Number two, they have as good and deep a farm system as any contending team right now. There's no excuses for Jerry Dipoto or Justin Hollander, the GM at this deadline. No excuses. You have the money and you have more top 100 prospects than any contending team right now. So, you know, look, you're going to have to make a painful trade. They're going to have to make a trade at this deadline that hurts. They're going to have to trade a prospect that's going to come back and haunt them. But you know what? If they get Suárez and get him back, or they get Naylor back, and that's the difference, and they get to October, and that young pitching can show the world how talented they are, and they get to the World Series, I mean, how fun would it be to have Milwaukee-Seattle World Series? I know baseball wouldn't like it, and the ratings wouldn't like it, but I'd get a chuckle out of that. But I think you got to make the move now. This is the Mariners' time, and I think there's as much pressure on Jerry Dipoto as there ever has been in his career.
One other team in that division with 2 minutes to go here for us, the Texas Rangers. I know you've liked their roster for most of the year. So two-parter, what do you think they'll do? And what would you do?
Buy, baby. Go get bats. You got as good a pitching staff as there is. You get to October, what do you think they're going to do, man? They're just like Seattle, and Jacob deGrom is Jacob deGrom. You get him, Eovaldi, and Leiter. Come on now. Just score some runs, and I believe in this team. They've had a bad first half. I'm sorry, but now they're creeping up. They're a couple games over 500. Corey Seager's starting to look like Corey Seager. Marcus Semien starting to turn the corner a little bit. Go get another bat or two. Beat Seattle to it. You're in their own division. They can overtake Seattle. I'm not sure anyone's going to overtake Houston, to be honest, because Houston beats all the good teams. They're 14-4 against first place teams this year. So I don't think either Seattle or Texas are catching them. But I do think Houston could catch Seattle if they beat him at the trade deadline. And just remember this about GMs, and I know it's coming from a former GM, but the GM is just as important this next week as the star player. This can be the difference. Whether or not you make the playoffs or not is what can the GM do to make your team better. And for me, Chris Young, there's only one choice. It's not, you can't sell. You go buy, you go get another bat, find a place to put it. I don't care if it's at first or third or DH. I don't care where you put it. Go get a big bat